There's a moment when a woman stops seeing you as an option and starts seeing you as a man she doesn't want to lose. Most men never reach that moment, not because they lack potential, but because they lack one thing that quietly defines attraction at the deepest level: boundaries. And if that word feels uncomfortable, good, because what you're about to hear will challenge the way you've been approaching women, relationships, and even yourself. Before we go deeper, subscribe and like this video, because this isn't surface level advice. This is the psychological foundation that separates men who are chaste from men who are forgotten. I'm speaking to you directly, not to criticize, but to reveal what most men were never taught. Attraction is not built by doing more. It's built by allowing less tolerance, less over-explaining, less emotional dependency, and that shift begins with boundaries. Most men hear boundaries and think restriction, control, distance, but that's not what it is. A boundary is not something you place on her. It's something you establish within yourself. It's the line between what you accept and what you don't. And here's the truth most men avoid. If you don't have clear boundaries, you don't have a clear identity. And without identity, there is no respect. Without respect, attraction fades. This is why so many men feel confused. They're kind, they're attentive, they're available, and yet something is missing. Because kindness without boundaries feels like weakness. Attention without standards feels like neediness. Availability without selectiveness feels like desperation. And women feel that instantly, not logically, emotionally. You see, high-value women are not looking for perfection. They're looking for stability, for clarity, for a man who doesn't bend every time the dynamic shifts. And boundaries are the clearest signal of that. They show that your life is structured, that your time has value, that your energy is not freely given to anyone who asks for it. And when a woman senses that, something shifts. She stops testing casually. She starts observing carefully, because now you're no longer predictable. You're defined, grounded, self-contained, and that's rare. Most men think attraction comes from saying the right things, but real attraction comes from standing on the right things. And boundaries are where that begins. So if you've been trying harder, giving more, adjusting yourself to keep her interested, pause. Because the answer isn't more effort, it's stronger limits. What you allow will always define how you're treated. And the moment you understand that is the moment everything begins to change. The first boundary that instantly changes how a woman sees you is simple, but most men struggle to hold it. It's the boundary of your time. Not in words, in behavior. Most men give their time away too easily. They respond instantly. They rearrange plans, they make themselves available at any moment she reaches out, and they think this shows interest. But what it actually shows is a lack of structure, because time is not just time. It's your life. It reflects your priorities, your discipline, your purpose. And when you treat it as something flexible for anyone, it signals that you don't have anything more important than her attention. That's where attraction starts to weaken. High-value women don't just look at how much time you give. They look at how easily you give it. Because what is easily given is rarely valued. Now, this doesn't mean you become distant or unavailable for the sake of it. That's another mistake. This is about intentional presence. If you're busy, you don't drop everything. If you have plans, you keep them. If something matters to you, you protect it. And when you choose to spend time with her, it feels like a decision, not a default. That difference is everything, because now your presence carries weight. It's not automatic, it's selective. And selectiveness creates value. Most men fear this. They think if they don't respond fast enough, if they don't make her a priority immediately, she'll lose interest. But the opposite is often true. When your life has structure, when your time is protected, when your attention is earned, she begins to respect it. And what she respects, she becomes curious about. From a psychological perspective, people are drawn to those who appear to have direction, not just ambition, but consistency in how they manage their energy and time. When you lack that, you feel unstable. When you have it, you feel grounded. And grounded men are rare. So the next time you feel the urge to instantly reply, to cancel your plans, to over-prioritize her at the expense of yourself, pause. Ask yourself, am I choosing this or am I trying to keep her? Because if it's the second one, she will feel it. And once she feels that your time revolves around her, you stop being a priority. You become an option. But when your time is yours first and shared second, you shift the entire dynamic without saying a word, because boundaries are not explained, they're demonstrated. And how you handle your time is the first place she starts paying attention. The second boundary is your energy. And most men have no idea how vulnerable they make themselves by giving it away carelessly. You see, energy is more than enthusiasm or effort. It's your emotional stability, your focus, your presence. And the moment a man sacrifices it to chase approval, he becomes predictable, needy, and invisible. Most men react emotionally to everything she says. A text comes late and they panic. She cancels plans and they overcompensate. She tests subtly and they try harder. And each time they reveal the invisible truth. Their happiness depends on her reactions. That is the exact opposite of attraction. High-value women are drawn to men who guard their energy fiercely. Not selfishly, not arrogantly, but intentionally. A man who can remain calm, present, and centered, regardless of her mood, her words, or her tests, becomes magnetic because he signals stability, certainty, and emotional authority, all qualities that women subconsciously crave. Here's how it works. Every time she challenges you, pulls away, or tries to manipulate a situation, your response communicates whether you are reactive or grounded. Reactivity screams, I'm dependent on you. Grounded presence screams, I am independent. I am stable. I am here by choice. And she feels that energy without words. Now, most men confuse compromise with generosity. They think giving too much energy proves value. But true value comes from restraint, from discerning where you invest your focus and attention, from refusing to let external circumstances destabilize your inner world. Boundaries around energy are subtle but powerful. You don't announce them, you demonstrate them. You don't respond to every emotional pull. You don't overanalyze every action. You prioritize your life, your mental clarity, and your emotional reserves. And you let her see it. Because a man who controls his energy, who doesn't scatter it everywhere for validation, becomes unpredictably desirable. She notices what other women and other men don't. He is selective, intentional, and unshakable. And unshakable men create curiosity, desire, and respect automatically. So start observing yourself. Where are you giving energy you don't need to? Where are you reacting instead of choosing? Because the moment you take back control of your emotional and mental energy, you stop being chased and you start being pursued. Boundaries around energy are invisible, but the effect is undeniable. Women feel it, and attraction begins there, before you even speak a word. The third boundary is at your standards, and most men completely miss how critical this is. Standards are not arbitrary rules or superficial requirements. They are the non-negotiables that define who you are, what you accept, and what you refuse. And the moment a man compromises them to please a woman, he signals weakness. Most men believe attraction comes from bending, accommodating, or saying yes. They think flexibility equals desirability. But here's the truth. What she respects most is a man who will never compromise himself for approval. When your standards are clear, consistent, and upheld without hesitation, she senses something rare: certainty, authority, integrity. High-value women test standards constantly, often without realizing it. She may ask for favors, push for exceptions, or subtly challenge your priorities. The reaction of most men? Hesitation, over-explanation, apology, a subtle shift in behavior that communicates, I'll adjust for you. And each adjustment chips away at respect, desire, and attraction. The smartest way to handle these tests is simple yet difficult. Stand firm, Uphold your non-negotiables. Respect yourself first. If she wants to align with you, she adapts. If she doesn't, she reveals herself. Either way, clarity wins, because a man without standards is invisible. A man with unshakable standards becomes magnetic. Psychologically, humans respond to boundaries because they signal safety, not in the soft, comforting sense, but in the sense that your world is organized, your priorities are clear, and your decisions are deliberate. This safety creates trust, curiosity, and attraction, all without manipulation, persuasion, or effort. Now, here's where most men fail. They confuse flexibility with compromise. Flexibility is about navigating life intelligently, without sacrificing your identity. Compromise is about sacrificing yourself to avoid discomfort. Women sense the difference instinctively. Flexibility signals wisdom, compromise signals insecurity. So start asking yourself, what are the things I will never negotiate? Not just in dating, but in life. And when a woman challenges those lines, notice how your energy shifts. The moment you hold your standards without defensiveness or fear, attraction skyrockets, respect solidifies, and curiosity flourishes. Because standards are not barriers, they are mirrors. They show who you are. They communicate, silently but powerfully, that your presence is intentional, your choices are deliberate, and your value is not up for debate. High-value women don't just want a man who wants them, they want a man who commands respect through his own life. And standards are the clearest reflection of that authority. The fourth boundary is your emotional availability. And this is where most men sabotage attraction without even realizing it. Emotional availability doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means choosing when and how to invest your feelings, instead of giving them away freely in every interaction. Men who fail here become predictable, reactive, and easy to influence. And when that happens, attraction erodes fast. Most men think that showing vulnerability constantly proves authenticity. They believe that expressing every insecurity, every fear, every doubt will make a woman feel closer to them. But the opposite is true. Excessive emotional exposure without discernment signals instability. It tells her, my value depends on your response. And women sense that instantly. High-value women are drawn to men who hold their center. Even when the relationship or interaction is uncertain, they want a man who can feel deeply but isn't controlled by every fluctuation in her mood, every delay in her response, every subtle test she throws. That is true emotional authority. Here's the subtle but critical point. Emotional availability is not about hiding your feelings. It's about mastering them. It's about responding with clarity rather than reaction. It's about creating space for both of you to operate from curiosity instead of chaos. When you overreact to her words, overanalyze her actions, or overinvest emotionally in moments of testing, you send one unmistakable signal. You're dependent on her approval, and nothing kills respect faster than dependence disguised as vulnerability. Instead, practice discernment. Observe your reactions. Ask yourself, am I sharing this to connect or to secure validation? When the answer is the latter, hold your ground. Respond with calm, measured presence. Keep your emotional energy intact. When you do this consistently, something remarkable happens. She no longer tests you to provoke reaction. She begins to notice your steadiness, your reliability, your clarity, and respect grows. Desire follows. Attraction becomes effortless. The fifth boundary is your personal space and independence. Many men make the fatal error of making themselves available at all times, allowing a woman to dominate attention, time, or emotional bandwidth. High-value women are drawn to men who have lives, ambitions, and spaces that are theirs alone. Maintaining this boundary doesn't mean ignoring her or being distant. It means cultivating a world that exists outside her influence. A man who protects his independence communicates one profound truth. He chooses to include her, not the other way around. And women are irresistibly attracted to men who are complete before they enter a relationship. Together, emotional control and personal independence form the invisible scaffolding of attraction. They make you predictable in presence, but unpredictable in desire. They show strength, stability, and clarity, and high-value women respond immediately. The sixth boundary, the one that ties everything together, is your non-negotiable self-respect. This is the boundary that most men ignore until it's too late. The invisible line that defines whether a woman sees you as a man to respect or a man to test endlessly. It's not about arrogance. It's not about ego. It's about refusing to sacrifice your identity, your values, or your standards for approval. Most men think respect can be earned by pleasing, agreeing, or accommodating. They bend, they adjust, they tolerate behaviors they shouldn't, and in doing so, they send one clear message: my worth depends on your acceptance. Women feel this instantly. Respect disappears, attraction fades, curiosity dies. A man with self-respect, however, signals something radically different. He shows that his life, time, energy, and emotions are not freely available to anyone who asks for them. He doesn't tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or inconsistency, not because he wants to control her, but because he knows his value and refuses to compromise it. This is the rarest, most magnetic quality a man can have. And it doesn't require words. It's shown in action: how you respond to testing, how you hold your ground in conflict, how you prioritize your life without apology. Every interaction communicates: I respect myself. If you want in, you meet me here on my terms. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most men fear setting this boundary because they think it will push women away. But the opposite is true. When you show unwavering self-respect, the women worth your time are drawn closer. They respect your limits, trust your consistency, and desire your presence because it is earned, not given freely. Every boundary we've discussed, time, energy, standards, emotional control, independence, and self-respect, interconnects. When they are held consistently, they create a man who is grounded, magnetic, and unshakable. A man who doesn't chase attention, but instead attracts it effortlessly. A man who is respected not out of fear, but because he demonstrates value in every choice he makes. So here's the final message: stop tolerating behaviors that diminish you. Stop giving away your time, energy, or identity to secure approval. Protect your space, guard your standards, master your emotions, and above all, stand unwavering in self-respect. High-value women feel this immediately. They sense the difference between neediness and certainty, dependency and stability. And when all six boundaries are in place, attraction doesn't just appear, it becomes inevitable. This is how men move from being ordinary to irresistible, from being tested to being respected, from chasing approval to commanding it effortlessly. Boundaries aren't just rules. They're the essence of power, presence, and magnetic attraction.